Below the American stars, I reached out. And for the primary time in years, someone without a doubt reached back. It wasn't approximately love. It wasn't about age. It changed into approximately feeling visible, and finally permitting myself to sense once more what spread out after that second. You would not believe it despite the fact that I informed you. Welcome to Vows and Betrayals, where we share proper stories of restoration, heartbreak, and sudden connections. Tell me, where are you looking from tonight? And in case you've ever felt like a stranger to your very own pores and skin, leave a dot inside the comments. Someone else needs to listen. They are now not by myself. Thank you for being right here. At approach greater than you know. Now, let's dive into the tale. What's up? I am Margaret Halle. The majority simply call me Maggie. I am 65, and for the past 2 years, I have been a widow. I never idea I would be the sort of female who travels by myself. Airports used to mean something. Reunions, holidays, coming domestic. However, nowadays, sitting in the noisy airport reunion terminal of Varucia, surrounded by way of human beings one half my age, it simply felt hollow, like I would slipped out of my own tail. They laughed, tapped their phones, lined up for lattes with oat milk and coconut foam. I sat there clutching a leather bag that also smelled faintly of Frank's cologne. Years, and that I nevertheless could not let that fragrance pass. Frank, he turned into a battle photographer. Bold, stressed. He had a way of moving into chaos along with his digital camera and coming out with a sort of quiet reality. We traveled the sector collectively well. He traveled. I observed, took pics in the margins, held his hand while he got here domestic broken. Year after year, he left at the back of dozens of framed pics and one unmarried appeal necklace, a Messiah-inspired pendant he brought lower back from his ultimate ride to Africa. I might stored it tucked in a drawer, afraid that touching it might make the memories too loud. That's after I saw him. Tall, sun-warmed pores and skin, a kind face, the form of face that looked adore it had heard 1,000 tales and still desired to listen yours. He walked like someone who knew where he turned into going, but didn't thought slowing down for individuals who didn't. Ma'am, would you want a few help with that bag? I seemed up. A younger man, likely in his early 30s, with heat eyes and a quiet self-assurance. His boss bore a brand, Serenity Spirit Excursions. He turned into, in all likelihood, a local guide looking ahead to his group. I'm Elijah, he said with a gentle smile. I paintings with the safari company. Figured you was probably with the excursion. I nodded gently, now not quite certain why his presence felt surprisingly reassuring. Then I noticed the pendant round his neck, swaying gently as he lifted my suitcase. It seemed almost precisely just like the one Frank had given me. The road out of Varucia curved via stretches of open land that seemed to respire. The farther we drove, the quieter I have become. No longer because I was keeping lower back, but because something inside the panorama invited stillness. Mountains loomed inside the distance, their peaks blurred by means of a golden haze. Acacia timber leaned lightly within the wind. Now and then, herds of zebras flickered beyond the roadside like moving brushstrokes. For the primary time in a protracted whilst, I didn't experience like escaping. Elijah drove with one hand on the wheel, the other tapping lightly to a rhythm most effective he could pay attention. The silence among us wasn't awkward. It changed into respectful one way or the other. You've got an eye fix for moments, he stated, glancing at my camera resting on my lap. The artist. I smiled a little, amazed, he observed. I used to help my husband, I said. He changed into the artist. I just framed the quiet in among. Elijah nodded thoughtfully. That's wherein the real memories stay, isn't it? Among the noise, I became to study him more carefully. Do you always speak like that? He grinned. Most effective when I'm around those who listen. I laughed at a quick, startled sound I hadn't made in weeks, maybe months. And also you, I requested. Isn't this just an activity, or... He kept his eyes on the road. It commenced that manner. But sooner or later, I need to construct my very own excursion agency. One that's truly rooted within the land that offers again to the groups here. My father continually stated, you don't just pass through the earth, you go away fingerprints. I regarded out the window, looking a line of giraffes move gracefully through the timber. Maybe that's why I got here, I thought. No longer to chase adventure, however, to bear in mind what it feels like to depart a mark. The village rose from the dry earth like something out of a dream. Spherical dust huts with thatched roofs, goats weaving among children, red-robed figures standing tall against the wind. We stepped out of the Jeep, and right away I felt it, the weight of records urgent softly towards my chest. There has been no want for words right here. The entirety spoke, the dust, the rhythm of footsteps, the consistent gaze of folks who had seen lifetimes skip underneath the same sun. What struck me maximum were the girls, their faces carved with quiet delight, their hands scarred sturdy and forever and ever busy. One aged woman sat near a cooking hearth, staring out across the land like she changed into remembering something only she ought to see. I lifted my digicam, and for a moment she appeared directly at me. Through the lens, I didn't see a stranger. I noticed myself, or a few parts of me I'd forgotten weathered, still unapologetically alive. When I reduced the digicam, I became to Elijah. What's her call? He spoke lightly to the girl crouching beside her. They exchanged some tender words. Then he became back to me. She said, your face consists of the reminiscence of 1,000 sunsets. I blinked, stuck off shield. It wasn't flattery. It turned into popularity. I sat down beside the female, and for a long time, we didn't speak. We simply watched the sky shift. Later, as we walked in the direction of the Jeep, I found myself telling Elijah a story I hadn't shared in decades. Within the 80s, I joined a program where we wrote letters to African students, sent books, snapshots, stupid little matters. I don't recognize if any of it ever mattered. Elijah stopped in his tracks. His eyes went huge. I got one of those letters, he said. When I was 10, the ebook became To Kill a Mockingbird. Within the cover, someone had written, "May your dreams develop wilder than the savannah." My knees went weak. I whispered, I wrote that. And similar to that, the years folded in on themselves. Now not lost, simply waiting to be discovered. The fireplace crackled low, sending smooth orange light across the small clearing. Above us, the stars spilled over the sky like glitter scattered on velvet. No ceiling, no roof, simply the uncooked hum of earth and sky respiration together. The others had long gone quiet. A few were asleep of their tents, others whispering memories round some other hearth farther off. I sat by myself with my magazine in my lap, the pen resting in which words refused to come. Then I heard footsteps. Elijah appeared, keeping a small tray with tin cups and a bottle of red wine. He didn't say lots, simply set the tray down and sat beside me, the fireplace between us. I figured you might want this, he stated, passing me one of the cups. I took it, my arms brushing his for the briefest second. That tiny touch felt louder than anything we'd said all day. We sat in silence for a while, sipping. The nighttime wrapped around us like a quainted coat, worn but warm. You've been quiet, Elijah stated lightly. I nodded. This ride? It's no longer what I predicted. He didn't ask how. He didn't want to. After a pause, I whispered, I spent maximum of my life looking to be what others needed me to be. A spouse, a mother, a terrific woman. I'm now not sure I ever stopped long enough to invite who I used to be when no person turned into looking. Elijah stirred the coals with a stick, watching the sparks dance. My mother changed into like that, he stated. She gave the entirety to everybody else. While she exceeded, I found out I slightly knew what she wanted for herself. The fireplace popped softly. Our eyes met. There has been something unstated in the area among us. Not desire, not confusion, something quieter, recognition, the ache of two souls who had waited too lengthy to be seen. I didn't move. Neither did he, but the distance among us softened like a thread, quietly sewing closed a tear that had been open for years. No words, simply breath, just presence. And somehow that was sufficient. The drive return to Aruchia felt exclusive. The equal dusty roads, the identical golden fields, but something within the silence between us had shifted. It wasn't emptiness. It was full of the whole thing unstated. Elijah kept his consciousness on the road. I watched the arena bypass by way of via the window, sluggish, deliberate, as though it knew I wished more time. We didn't say much. We didn't should. At the airport lower, Elijah parked and stepped out to assist with my baggage. The solar became lower now, casting long shadows throughout the pavement. I reached for my bag, however few were given to it first, lifting it effects. As he set it down beside me, something fell to the ground, a small photo, antique and diminished. He bent down, picked it up, and paused. It became the photo Frank had taken folks,